just for you and me. The dogwood was never to grow strong and tall again. Hello, my name's Lonnie Jones, and this is my story and what God's done for me. And we're broadcasting from 549 East Maple Street, Madison, Tennessee. And I haven't had a lot to say about what God's done for me in the last 2-3 episodes, but He's always been there. Just nothing stands out big about what He's done for me that would be really worth bringing up. He's always with us, and we all know that. He's always with us, and but nothing big jumped out for me to tell you about what He's done for me at this point in time. But I'm going to tell you, and I think I was brought up the Opryland Hotel, where we played the convention, a lot of conventions at Opryland Hotel. Well, the reason I ended up at the Opryland Hotel in maintenance now, I started, we owned a machine shop over in Madison, Tennessee, or here in Madison, Tennessee, and we, my father-in-law, like to tell it this exactly the way it was. Me and my first wife wasn't getting along, and I don't like to talk about the divorce stuff, but anyway, this is what we got to talk about if we're going to get to the truth and the bottom of the whole thing. But me and my first wife wasn't getting along too well. We owned a machine shop over in Madison called L.R.J. Machine, and we weren't getting along too well, and we lived in Hendersonville in a nice home up there, and so we wasn't getting along too well. So that proceeded into getting me leaving and getting a divorce, and me going to work at Opryland Hotel. So I sort of got out of the machine shop. I got out of the machine shop business basically at that point. And actually I never did go back into the machine shop business after that, but after owning my own shop. However, that's not totally true. What I did do is when I got my divorce from my first wife, was Ronnie's mom, that's when I went out and got a job working at another machine shop, and that machine shop wasn't doing real well, so I ended up leaving there and going to work in maintenance. And I was working in maintenance at Opryland Hotel. And when I went out there, I had already went back in business in my own machine shop at the time, and was doing real well in it. And all of a sudden they decided people I was doing work for, like Peterbilt and General Electric, people like decided they were going to have everything just so-so, and they pulled everything out from all the little shops, and when they pulled them out from the little shop, then all the little shops went under, and all the big shops continued to operate and grow and continue to get bigger. So anyway, when my shop, when I could no longer meet my obligations at my shop, that's when I got out of it and went to Opryland Hotel and went to work in maintenance. And by that time, my music had slowed down considerably. Along in that area, my music had slowed down because my divorce, it was a lot different. Nobody knows what it is till you go through it, when your totally life changes from one thing to another. And that's just how it is, and most of you totally understand that, I know. But the ones that never had a divorce wouldn't understand it completely unless you went through it. Well, it's like everything else I've told you. I've been there and done that, you know. So it was a pretty rough era through there. So I went and got me a job at the Opryland Hotel in maintenance. So when I got in maintenance, I didn't even know Ray Mangum, which was my steel guitar 2 or 3 years prior to that. I didn't even know he worked there. Didn't even know he was there. So, but anyway, I got my job there and in maintenance. And my first job, and I got a job there in March. My first job was I took a robot, and he was a robot. He's run off of batteries, I guess, whatever. But my job was to sit there and watch him clean a swimming pool. Now that's some job. That's the most boring thing you've ever seen in your life is sitting in a chair and watching a thing look like a bulldozer. But it had a tube behind it, and it was going along sucking up everything in the swimming pool. Well, that was my very first job there. And it took 3 days for that thing to clean that swimming pool. And that was the first job. Now, Opryland Hotel, for those of you that don't know much about Opryland Hotel has got an underground tunnel. It's got a big restaurant that feeds all the employees down in this tunnel. And down in this tunnel, that's where they do all their sheets and their towels and their pillowcasing. That's where everything gets washed. Is down in, and nobody can go down there. Nobody even knows it's down there except the employees. And so they had a big restaurant down there where all the employees ate. They didn't give it to you. You had to pay for it just like everybody else. But it was a really nice cafeteria. Had about anything you wanted to eat. So that's where we ate at down there. Well, Opryland, they were real strict. Very strict. They were strict on where you parked, what door you could go in, couldn't go in. For instance, you can be in Opryland Hotel right now, and I can show you doors that if you go out that door, you'll go down in that tunnel. But nobody notices those doors. They don't even have them labeled. Didn't then have them labeled private or nothing like that. Nobody paid any attention to them. Nobody attempted to go down the stairs and go down there to the place. I'm talking about visitors, the people that were traveling and everything. They never even thought about this tunnel, but it went from one end to the other. And if you remember, I don't know how many wings that thing's got, but they just kept adding wings and wings and wings till I think they ended up with 5 or 6 or 7 wings on the thing. And the more wings you put on it, the more walking you had to do. Well, you can't imagine how much walking there is to be done in Opryland Hotel. And our shop was out back next to the river. There's a road goes around behind the shopping mall out there. It's a shopping mall now. But there's a road back in the back, access road, and that's where everybody went back there that worked there and parked back in this parking lot. Then you'd catch a shuttle on into the door you'd go into to go to work. And when you drive in there with your car, they had these guards standing at these stop signs and everything. And one morning I was running a little bit late or something or other, and I sped up to there or something. Anyway, the guards were all smart at it. Except one of them thought, because they had that badge on, and they had the right to talk to you like a dog or whatever. But he told me, because he didn't know me too well. But anyway, I kept my cool with him. He's in a real smart way. I don't know exactly how it was, but when I say stop, I mean stop. So anyway, that brought my attention to, be careful, do the right thing, not get no trouble over the whole thing. And what was funny about it is, I was working in a machine shop, my own machine shop, making good money and everything when it was happening. Well, I went to work out there for, I think it was like $6.50 an hour. It was like a wet rag slapping you right in the face. But let me tell you something else. That's not the only time that happened to me in my lifetime. It happened. My problem is remembering the sequence when things happen. Sometimes I may have to go back and switch sequences when things like this happen. But right now, I do know that I own a machine shop, and through my divorce, I ended up not having the machine shop and going to work at another machine shop, which didn't work out, and then I went to work for Opryland Hotel. That sequence there is pretty much, we're talking about right now, is pretty much like it was. So I go to work at Opryland Hotel and walk in every time. My job out there was to make sure that that everything was tight. All I had in my pocket was a screwdriver and a pair of wire pliers. Just about it. All I had in my pocket. Because they would give you a call and say that somebody dropped a ring in a sink, and it may be almost back to Briley Parkway, or not Briley Parkway, but McGowan Pike. You'd have to walk the full length of that thing to get a ring out of a sink somebody had dropped down in the sink. So I want you to know, walking was something else out there. It was walk, 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 and it was doing nothing. That we was basically walking, and when you get there, it wouldn't amount to nothing hardly, whatever it was, because it was fairly a new hotel. Wasn't anything that wrong with it. It was just little things, and people, the residents or I guess the tourists, whatever happened, they caused it most of the time. Well, so walking was a big deal out there. Well, I saw not too long after I was there, I saw that wasn't where I was going to stay. I can tell you I wasn't going to stay there. And when you get inducted into Opryland Hotel, they got a name for it when you're getting hard on orientation. Orientation. I don't know how I managed to remember all these words tonight, but called orientation. Well, our orientation was first thing he told. The first thing that the guy that told us that was giving us our orientation says, "Don't you talk to nobody, tell nobody nothing, because you don't know nothing about this place out here." And boy, was he ever right. But I never was one to tell somebody something I didn't know nothing about anyway, so that was fine with me. What he was trying to tell us, if one of their guests comes up to me and asked me where so-and-so was at, I was not to tell them. I was to tell them to go to the information desk, because you don't know. Most time you wouldn't know anyway. So no, those as many crooks and curves there are and turns out there, didn't know. Then and people they had them real fancy keys. Boy, they had some beautiful keys. Every one of those keys, they made them out of blanks right there. Cause I know, cause I made keys, because everybody come there and stole the key. Everybody come there wouldn't turn their keys in, or at least they wouldn't turn. If they had two keys, they'd turn one in, because they were so pretty and they wanted them as souvenirs. There are lots of souvenirs of the Opryland Hotel scattered across this country and abroad, where they didn't turn them back in. So I worked in maintenance. So one night they gave me the job of making keys. They had this thing out there that made these keys. Well, if you ain't never made a key, or if you have made a key, you know about what it consists of. And let me tell you, it's a job sitting there feeding that thing keys. And you hang them up, and they're all numbered. And you can't get them mixed up. Well, you could get them mixed up. It wouldn't hurt to get them mixed up, but they had them in room numbers. So every one of them had a room number, and you tried to keep them in line to where 3 days later, after I got all these keys made, we put them on the pickup truck out there, and then we went up to the main door, and then I had to distribute those keys into where you checked in at. That's where they kept them all at. Hung on this huge thing that went round and round like a carousel. So I got my taste of making keys, and I got my taste of walking. And the worst thing I could have had was a two-way radio, because if you had a two-way radio, you was on call. Trust me. Lonnie, go to so-and-so and do so-and-so. And let me tell you, it was a job walking. Well, I wasn't making any money. At the time, I wouldn't drink. I never did drink on the job, nowhere. At no time did I drink on the job. But I did not drink on the job there because there was booze in all the rooms. I could drink, but I did not drink on the job. But my point being is, I drank back then, but I wouldn't drink on the job. But I saw again that it was not where I wanted to work for the rest of my life because I wasn't making a lot of money. The benefits weren't all that great, but they was probably about as good as anything in town that was going on, except the craftsmanship that I had with a machine shop and a tool and die. That's where the money was at. I had my own. I was my own craftsman. I had a. I don't know what there's a name for that too. If I think what it was, but I had a trade. My trade was machine shop and tool and die. So I had gotten out of that and got over into this, and so anyway, I knew I wasn't going to stay there too long. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to stay there too long. So what broke the camel's back is when they put me on nights. See, I went to work out there in the daytime. Well, ever so often you'd have to work nights. And I tell you right now, nights is not my thing. I don't want to work nights. I don't like working nights. And so anyway, it wasn't too long after that till I quit Opryland Hotel. And none of the time when I was at Opryland Hotel, not a time did I ever get to go over into the park for any reason whatsoever, and the park was right next door to it. There wasn't anything separating it but a bridge. But we never did get to go over into the park, which didn't really make any difference because all I was doing was walking and walking and walking anyway. And it wasn't anything to learn. They had this little problem. And if I had to go over, I'd have made some money off of it, but that's the way it goes when you're drinking and you don't think about tomorrow. You're not worried about tomorrow, all you're worried about right then, which that's not all bad, but if you're drinking, it's not all good either. So what the problem was is they had these rugs. Opryland has rugs on the floor that's probably worth $100 a square yard. I have no clue, but it's real fancy. It's beautiful and very, very expensive. Well, they were having this problem of these holes getting people dropping cigarettes. That's back when you could smoke anywhere, anytime. People were dropping cigarettes on the carpet and burning holes in the carpet. So my boss at the maintenance office said we got to pull this carpet up. And they were pulling up carpet all the time, fixing those holes, because they wanted it to be perfect. And they was pulling up carpet right and left on account of cigarette butt holes in these carpets. And I said, I told my boss there at the shop, I said, by the way, I still had a machine shop in Madison. I still own a machine shop, a 3-man machine shop, over in Madison. They worked for me and had been for the machine shop that I still owned myself. After leaving Mr. Ferris and getting a divorce and everything, I still ended up with my little old machine shop over here in Madison. And if I hadn't had that, I couldn't have made them $5 an hour. So I almost forgot to put that in there because nobody could go from making what I was making down to $5 a half hour and survive. So I had a little machine shop that I had set up. I had 3 men working for me. Well, I had this bright idea. I told that to my foreman. I said, why don't I make you a tool that's hollow in the middle and points like a bullet and sharp as a razor on the end, about so big around? Why don't I make you a tool and you hit it one time with a hammer, take that burnt spot up, take a piece of scrap somewhere, hit that, and stick it right back in the hole. Nobody ever knows it was done. Boy, did that take a hold. I saved that company a fortune. I called my machine shop and I told the boy that's exactly what I wanted him to make. He made it. I brought it out there, and they went absolutely crazy over it. So what we ended up doing was I made the tool, hollow in the middle, it was about 1 inch in diameter, hollow in the middle, sharp like a bullet, and sharp like a razor on the end. You hit it one time, and that plug would come out. You take your piece of scrap, hit it one time, stick that plug right back in that hole. You couldn't even see it was ever burned. What did I get? Thank you. I got thank you from him. I didn't get thank you from nobody else. If I had that to go over, I would have made a lot of money off that idea. Because I saved them a fortune. Because they were pulling up hunks of pieces of rug just to get rid of a burned cigarette butt or two. So, anyway, while that was going on, I decided I was going to quit. They put me, like I said, they put me on nights and weekends on Saturdays and Sundays, and you had to do that about every 3 months. But I didn't like to do it no time. I just felt like I didn't have to. So I applied for a maintenance job at Vine Hill Projects over behind the fairgrounds. Most everybody knows where the Vine Hill Projects are at. So I applied for a job over there in maintenance. They needed a maintenance man over there. So anyway, they hired me over there. Well, the first job you had to do when I went to work over there, I wasn't making no money over there either. I was making $200. I carried under $300 home a week, every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. I think time I took taxes and everything out, I may have made $350 every 2 weeks. It was pathetic. It was, but boy, let me tell you what was good. All the perks you got along with it, like the days off and sick days, vacation days. Man, they loaded you down. They gave you an incentive to stay there. You see what I mean? So anyway, I went to work there, and my first job there was going around with a nail in the end of a stick, picking up paper every morning. I don't care if there's snow on the ground, ankle deep, you still picked up paper every morning. When you clocked in, you picked up that paper every morning. Went all over in projects. There was two guys worked there, me and another one. And I'd go around one side, and he'd go around the other one. And we'd like meet in the middle. So that was the first thing we had to do for the first 2 hours every morning, pick up paper over there. And then the next thing you had to do is you had to unstop commodes. And nobody can imagine what it's like until you've been a maintenance man in the projects. You have no clue. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. But it's bad. Let me tell you. You could walk in a door at one of those projects over not all of them. Now, don't misunderstand me. Everybody in the project, and that don't mean people in the projects are bad people. They ain't got nothing to do with being bad people. That just happens to be where they're having to live because they don't make enough money to live somewhere else. But some of them live clean, some of them live filthy. And that's in real life. That's not in the projects. That's in all over the world. Some people, you can tell how they live by looking in their car. Just please don't look in mine. But you can tell. So you could open the door over there and flip a light on, and there'd be 1,000 roach bugs run out from under the door. Just eat up with roaches over there. And you name it. But again, a lot of the apartments were nice, clean. Most of them were nice and clean, but you always had that bunch that weren't that way. And it's really sad to see it all. And I'm an expert on hot water heaters, and let me tell you how I'm expert on hot water heaters. It's because over there in the projects, all the hot water, when that place was built, all the hot water heaters, of course, was put in at the same time. Well, if it's put in at the same time, when one goes out, look out. Here they come, one right after another, 2 or 3 a day. So sure enough, I was over there during the time that the hot water heaters started going out. I got to where I could change a hot water heater. Go get a hot water heater at the maintenance shop, carry it and put it in, change it out in an hour. Right, 1 hour I could change a hot water heater. And but the hot water heaters all started going out over there in the projects, and that was I guess one of the big things over there. So I found out that I wasn't going to work out over there either because I still wasn't making any money. I wasn't making the money that I felt like I should make. So I was going to quit that place too. So most of you, a lot of you, a ton of you out there knows Kevin Dobson. And I knew Kevin needed a job, and so I told Kevin I was going to quit. And I believe it's as close as I can come to remembering the best I can do. I said, Kevin, if you'll come over there and they'll hire you because I'm going to quit, because I didn't tell them I was going to quit. But I called Kevin over there, and Kevin went over there, and Kevin got the job. And Kevin is there today. I believe it's about 27 years later. He's there today. So I'm going to leave you on I believe it's number 23. Yeah, episode number 23. We're going to play you a couple of numbers, leave you on that, and don't forget the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church at 101 Flat Ridge Road, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And our Nelson Garrett is our minister, and we'd love to have you there on Sunday about 11 o'clock or a little before if you can. And if you can't come, find us on Facebook. You can watch us on Facebook. We'd love to have you there. And I didn't mention a lot about God in these last 2 or 3 things here, but if you pay a little attention as things are going here, God's with me the whole time, the whole way, the way things are going. But anyway, I'm going to turn you loose, and I'll see you on chapter 24 or episode 24, and we'll talk a little bit more about the projects and then probably the next job that I've got, and getting back into my music a little bit more. So we'll play a couple of tunes for you, and we'll see you on episode number 24. Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Here's one called I Just Think I'll Stay Around. I love you, dear, but I won't follow. I just think I'll stay around for some girl that you want me when your true love can't be found. But if you go, yeah, I won't follow. I just think I'll stay around. Place a hand, will you? You know, my dear, always loved you, and I'll never let you down. But if you go, dear, I'm gonna follow. gave his life and soul just for you and me. The dogwood was never to grow strong.